Went on to play in the NFL, quarterback guru, and helping so many athletes out. And a big advocate for youth sport. Jordan Palmer, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You've developed something that you think is really key for athletes.
Impetus for starting Thread Performance was that it needed to exist.
I'll talk for some of those conversations, especially with the transfer portals. Hey, this might be a good place for you, but you got to stick this out.
You should measure every decision against what's best for your development. How good can you get and how fast can you get there?
Your brother was a Heisman Trophy winner. Talk about some of the struggles you had trying to follow in his footsteps.
I would go to the camp, I would throw in the backyard, I would work hard, and then I would not win the starting job.
You went to a college that you didn't want to go to, and you had a miserable first year. How did you face that adversity?
That was my only chance. If I left there, I was going to go to a JUCO and live at home.
When things get tougher, I'm not getting to play the position I want. Let's quit. Let's play another sport. Who did you draw from to kind of keep you going?
I had fun playing sports. I just wanted to keep playing. It doesn't mean it was easy.
How do you vet out who you work with?
We give them a lot of different information, and we give it to them different ways to see what type of learner they are. Not how smart they are, what type of learner they are.
There is one person and one person only who will define your kid's dreams, and that's your kid.
If you want something, you have to work for it.
Your ability to counter a weapon is paramount to your game development.
Or just losing perspective on what youth sports are really about.
Teach your kid the value of winning, but not at all costs.
Get a lot of questions on when an athlete should start strength training.
If your athlete follows my protocol, they are going to have better energy than ever before.
They can't come to you when you're born and say, you got character. You got to build that.
You can win, but if you're not really impacting lives, I think you lose.
Welcome back to Pure Athlete. I am Jeff, along with Britt and Brad. I'm at my new studio here at home now. I got the ring light that Britt got me, so I'm rocking and rolling. How you doing, guys?
We're doing good. Studio, your office looks good, but we need to get you back here soon.
Yeah, we miss you.
No, it's been good. I'm excited for today because as y'all know, I'm a big football guy. Love it. We got a guy coming on today that was the pride and joy of UTEP. Went on to play in the NFL and has done amazing things with really quarterback guru and helping so many athletes out. And a big advocate for youth sports. So I'm going to bring him on, guys, if you're okay with it. Jordan Palmer, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I'm a fan of what you guys do, and excited to share and excited to learn from you guys as well.
Jordan, we often have athletes on, and then we also have experts on, and it's rare that we have both. And today we have both, and a big reason that you're on today is we want to talk about Thread Performance, a business that you have, and we'll want to talk in depth about that because I think it'll be really important for our audience to hear. But before we go there, we want to talk a little bit about your story and your journey, and so if you don't mind, we'd love for you just to start off with. You come from a quarterback family, football family. Tell us a little bit about that growing up.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of four, and best case scenario family. My parents are awesome and did an incredible job. And we're really spread out. My oldest brother is 20 years older than me, so we're really spread out. I'm the youngest, and Carson got really good at football. We kind of knew at a young age that he was special, and he's 4.5 years older than me, so we just kind of missed each other in high school. But he got really good at it in middle school. High school came around, and he became the number one recruit. And we're from Orange County, California, Southern California, and he went on to SC. So it was a little hometown hero situation, and it was right in my formative years of middle school and high school when I was deciding what I wanted to take serious. And I'd like to tell you that I was so good at quarterback, I chose quarterback, but it was honestly out of default because I was just not that good at everything else I did. But I chased it and really developed a unique perspective that serves me really well for what I do today, in that I've seen the quarterback position from both sides of the spectrum. It was my older brother. So I lived, as much as you can live that life, somebody else's life. It's my big brother and best friend. I lived it right alongside him. But he was the number one recruit. He was the Heisman Trophy winner, the number one pick in the draft. And he retired from the NFL as the highest paid player in NFL history. I had one offer to a school I did not want to go to. I cried on signing day. I was miserable my first year. My dad talked to me about perspective and outlook and how we control those things. I learned a lot my freshman year. Homesick, basically on the border of Juarez, Mexico. And ended up having a fantastic career there, had a great time, turned a program around, or was a part of a program being turned around. And then I went to the NFL as a 6th-round pick and was cut immediately. Signed with the Arizona Rattlers, an arena team, ended up getting a chance, played a couple years, signed with the Sacramento Mountain Lions, a former UFL team. Was there for 48 hours, called my agent, said, get me out of here, and just kind of clawed my way into playing for 7 years. And so the both sides of the spectrum that I see is I see what it's like for somebody who is absolutely on top, the good and the bad, the expectations, the pressure that comes with that. And I also know what it's like to grind it out and get 4 reps at the end of practice to prove yourself and figure out ways to be needed on a team and be helpful on a team and make yourself hard to cut. And so that serves me really well for what I do today. So I bounced around a bunch of teams. I started 0 games in the NFL. In college, I like to brag that me and Dan Marino are on the same stat list. I am 8th all time in the history of college football for most interceptions thrown. And I think Marino's 6th. So he threw more picks than me, but it's about the only list I'm on with any legends. But yeah, I think the fact that I was a try hard and figure it out, find a way to be needed professional athlete allows me to really be able to help anybody with where they're at. And some of my clients are making $59 million a year and have a lot of pressure and expectation on them. And I've also certainly spent a lot of time with kids who are trying to start on their middle school team. And so I get a chance to see kind of everything in between.
And I also was in El Paso playing for the El Paso Chihuahuas in 2014. So I know what it's like to sit and look at Juarez every night. A little different.
Yeah. And that city was incredible. I mean, I moved there from essentially Laguna Beach, California. I mean, you can't. I mean, like what's it like? What are the similarities? You go, I don't know. But honestly, living in El Paso for 5 years, I was the minority. It's 98, 99% Hispanic. So for a kid who grew up in Orange County, a Caucasian kid who grew up in a place that's predominantly Caucasian, it was really, I don't know if it's hopeful. It was fascinating. I learned a lot about being the minority as well. And that's weird to say, but it was just statistically true. And so just so much that I got out of that city, the impact that it made on me. And again, that team had won 1 game a season for 3 years in a row. And we won 10 the first year that the new coach came in. And so just being a part of all those things, it was definitely instrumental in my development as a young man, as a player.
Let's dig in a little bit, Jordan, just to more into your story, because I just love it, and I love like how it's led to where you are today. But your brother, like you said, your brother was all everything, the Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, for our kids out there listening, I mean, talk about some of the struggles you had, trying to follow in his footsteps, the pressure. Obviously, people all knew who you were when you were in middle school and who you were in high school, and just how you battled through that. Same thing in terms of, like you said, trying to get drafted and like tell a little bit more about your recruiting story. You said but you were, because our audience loves these kind of comeback stories, and so could you just kind of delve into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I think his experience was not mine, and part of it was I only played my senior year. So, I spent a lot of time with quarterbacks, and my story I've seen play out with a lot of other kids. I didn't play my junior year, or really my senior year in high school was the first year that I was the full-blown starting quarterback on the team. And I started playing football in 3rd grade, and I wanted to play quarterback. I just never beat out the other kid. And I'd love to tell you that it was the coach's son or politics. It wasn't. I just never beat out the other kid. And so I would go to the camps, I would throw in the backyard, I would work hard, and then I would not win the starting job, and I would play linebacker or safety or receiver, or I played left guard one year, and D tackle for 2 years. And I was a must-play kid. 5th, 6th, 7th grade, I was the must-play kid. Like, we'd jump up 21, and then I'd hear the coach say, all right, let's get Palmer in now, for his 8 plays. And so I've played every position. I've been number 64 before. And so going through high school, I only played my senior year. My junior year, we had a senior starter that was committed to USC. And the only reason you never heard of him is they took Billy Hart, who was the quarterback, and Matt Leinart that year. So that's the only reason you never heard of Billy. And in fact, Jeff, Billy went on and played in the majors and was, I think, the assistant GM of the Yankees. I don't know if you know that name, Billy Hart.
Yeah.
So I backed him up my junior year. And then my senior year, we won state championship in California, went 14-0 and smashed everybody. But my running back had the California state rushing record. So I got pulled at halftime every single game because my running back had 4 touchdowns. So I was like the 7th best player on my senior year on my high school team. That's me. That's my ranking. Like, I think I was 7th. And so it's just it's a very unique story that now, as time's gone by, I see play out. And the whole idea of a late bloomer or somebody who just needs to play more. I spent my redshirt freshman year. I started every game at UTEP for 4 years. And it took me a year to figure out what the heck I'm doing, and I had to learn it in college, and we were bad, and then my sophomore year it clicked. But yeah, that story for me is my own. And I think one of the things that allowed me to maximize the opportunities that I had was fantastic parents. My mom was the disciplinary, and really organized and held us accountable to everything that we did. She was a homemaker, so she was a stay-at-home mom. And my dad had a really successful career in insurance and was working a lot and never missed practice or games, but was working a lot. But I never had pressure from my parents. I never had my dad, pushing and trying to get me to be more motivated. My dad was a basketball guy. He wasn't a football guy until we got good at football. And it was always, I saw my dad come home from work every day with a suit on, spend about 20 minutes, whatever it was, with us. How you doing? How's the day? Go upstairs, open his Bible, and go through whatever study he was doing at that time, for 45 minutes or whatever, then come back downstairs and have dinner, and we'd hang out as a family. I saw that every day. And so we didn't really talk about practice. We didn't really talk about getting my elbow up or following through or reading the corner ever. And so I think one of the things that that allowed me to maximize what I had was my parents' approach to our development. And ironically, it wasn't a plan. They were like a lot of parents. They were figuring it out on the fly, because my dad is not a former player. And my mom grew up in a military family, and they were just praying about it, surrounding us with great coaches, making us finish everything that we started, making us do whatever we said we were going to do. One of my favorite lines my dad always had was, "Show me, don't tell me." And I got 4 kids, and my 3 boys hear that a lot. And so I think really my story is it ran parallel paths with what my parents and how they raised us. And my brother, for all of his accolades and all the success that he's had, at a very young age, was totally fine sacrificing fun times for trying to get better. And it was all self-motivated. He had a good core group of friends that are his best friends today. But I had a brother who just was like, yeah, I want to get good at this quarterback thing, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And so it was not pushed from my parents at all. In fact, it was probably not that pushed. But it was just, it was accepted, well received, and encouraged along the way. But I think it was my parents and my older brother setting the example, and that allowed me to figure out what I wanted to continue to chase.
Thanks for kind of talking about that. My question to add to that, a lot of kids today, probably some of mine sometimes in my own family, when things get tough or I'm not getting to play the position I want, it's like, let's quit, let's play another sport, let's do whatever. who did you draw from besides maybe your mom and dad, brother, to kind of keep you going in that? Because, I mean, that's a lot of work. Obviously, everybody knows football is a lot of work when you're not getting to play what you wanted, but you stuck it out. Where did you draw that from?
I think this is very reflective because nobody taught me this. I think it's just as I look back and really analyze it through the lens of how I live my life today. I had fun playing sports. I just want to keep playing. It was fun. It doesn't mean it was easy, and I did not like some of my coaches, but I had fun. I loved basketball. I was never great, but I had fun doing it. That's why I did it. And the way I've constructed my life today with 4 kids and a business and several businesses and philanthropy and all that, like, I want to have fun every day. It's why I'm not coaching in the NFL, to be honest. I just didn't look that fun. And I'd be making more money, but it just didn't look that fun. And so I think for me, when I was little, as it should be all about fun, I just feel like that never changed for me. And I think that should be the guiding force for sure at a young age, but honestly, all the way through, it should just be fun. And I have some NFL clients that I have to remind that this is a game and they're getting paid to do it. And they need to hear that sometimes because the stress, the anxiety, the seriousness, the politics, all of that stuff can get in your way. But I think making sports fun. I coach all my kids' teams. I've never missed a practice of anything they've had because I'm the coach. And everything should be about having fun. And I've had some really challenging conversations with parents who don't believe that. And in some cases, I've made myself for their quarterback son unavailable, because if we're not congruent on that, then I'm no longer available to work with your son. And I've had some hard conversations because I just don't believe that doubling down and making everything serious and getting after it and smashing the competition at a young age. Now, young age is relative, right? But I just don't think it's not that I don't believe in that or that I don't want to do that. It's that I don't believe that works. And so I think it's a bad strategy. It's kind of like the same as not putting in the work as an athlete and hoping that it all works out. Well, I think hope's a terrible strategy. I'm a man of faith. That's different. But I think hope's a terrible strategy, just like I think making fun the third or fourth most relevant thing in your young athlete's life. I just think it's a terrible strategy.
Jordan, there's just so much gold in all that you've been saying. I want to explore one of those. You've referenced several times coaching. You're doing quarterback coaching now for kids, but also you've got NFL quarterbacks as well. Talk a little bit about that, and then I'd love to go into, as you're looking at young players in the youth area and you're dealing with parents and so on and so forth, what are the keys? Set talent aside. Talent obviously matters, but what are the key success factors?
Well, I'll give some context. So currently the state of my business is I run a consultancy. So I'm actually not really doing anything with youth right now. I've been running kids camps and I've done it for a long time. But all of my clients are on an annual retainer. So I've got over 20 NFL clients and over 20 college clients, and NIL changed everything. And it's a big investment, particularly for the college kids. But it's an annual retainer. There's a performance psychology element. There's a ton of physical stuff that we do. Learning a playbook, dealing with adversity, entering the portal, dealing with competition. I've got some very famous clients that deal with a lot of stuff. So the more famous they get, the more we talk about stuff that has nothing to do with football. And what I do on the youth side of things is in June 1, we're going to launch. I've done some stuff where I had a digital product before where you can kind of watch videos. I'm launching something called Summit U. And so I had been running something called the Summit Tour, camps around the country. And I love working with young athletes, and I have gold for them as well. But to be honest, I think there's so much development for all the sports out there right now that I had these core kids who would never miss a summit. And then I would have people who would come, and it was just one of like 4 different events they had that month, and it gets lost and it gets oversaturated. And so what I realized is the kids who really buy into what we teach and how we approach it are the ones who keep reaching their potential, and the ones that pepper it in with other stuff. It wasn't the best use of my time and their parents' money. And so I've kind of taken a year away from working with youth, and we're launching Summit U, which is an online program that's going to be fantastic. I've shot over 100 pieces of content for it already. And I think for those who are really going to chase it, I think that's really all they need, and then a field and a ball and a pair of cleats. As it pertains to your question, I think one of the things that, let's just call it common denominators in quarterbacks who reach their potential. Not everybody's potential is the NFL. And honestly, I don't believe the people are really in control of what their potential is. I think that's more of a God thing. But in terms of reaching your potential, it's up to you. I've told this story a bunch. My brother and I were playing for the Bengals. I don't remember what year, but we were playing for the Bengals, and I had a little pug named PETA, little girl pug, little mini pug. She was super cute. She lived to be 14 years old. She moved on a couple years ago. And at the time, my brother had 2 Rottweilers, and he lived kind of out in the country, and everyone knows when the quarterback's out of town. And so he had 2 attack trained Rottweilers, very professionally trained Rottweilers. And they were awesome. And we had a Russian dog trainer named Boris. And so my brother and I were gone for a weekend, and we came back, and we're picking up the dogs from Boris's facility. And I'm joking around with Boris. I used to mess with Boris all the time. And I go, hey, can you train PETA? Could you get PETA to be attack trained? And he grabs a squeaky ball, and he squeaks it, and he throws it, and she takes off after it. And he looks at me and goes, yes. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, if she wants to go chase the ball, I can teach her anything she's capable of learning. If not, get rid of her. And I just see the same thing with quarterbacks. I will never accept money to motivate somebody to work hard. That's part of why I'm not in traditional coaching, is I don't want someone to stick a quarterback in my room, and then I got to train some guy who's not willing to do what it takes. It doesn't sit well with me. And so there's other people who are better at that. It's not that I'm above it. There's other people who are better at it than me. I'm not going to do it. And so the ones that'll want to chase the squeaky ball, I think we've built an incredible way of helping people reach their potential. And part of that is honesty. Part of that is really good information. And part of that is a ton of experience. I think for a 40-year-old, nobody has more experience in the quarterback world than me. On the field, off the field, X's and O's, recruiting, portal, all of it. But it really comes down to, do you want it? And you don't necessarily have to outwork everybody. You don't have to put in twice as much time as the others. But it comes down with, how bad do you want to go and chase this thing? And I believe that starts whenever it starts. It doesn't have to start by 6th grade or sophomore year. And then I think that really ends your second contract. Not once you get drafted, not once you go D1. This constant pursuit of trying to figure out how to reach my potential kind of starts when it starts, and it ends your second contract or somewhere in between for everybody else. I've got clients in their second contract, and I've got a 3rd grade flag football team I'm coaching and a kindergarten flag football team I'm coaching. And so I intimately know that can start when it starts. The thing that I would caution every parent against is trying to press the start button. I don't think it might be your kid, but I don't think it's your button to press. And it's going to happen through who they play with, what they play. We are not a baseball family. My kids don't play baseball, but I can guarantee you this. If on my cul-de-sac were a bunch of baseball kids, we'd probably be a baseball family right now, because I wouldn't have been able to control that, whether I do or don't want them to play baseball. They would have gravitated towards it. And if all the kids build jumps behind my house and are riding dirt bikes back there and mountain bikes, I bet my kids would become super into mountain biking. And so I do think parents can control who they're around. You should be able to, and what they're introduced to, and what they are going to see other kids have passion in, and what they're going to be drawn towards. But in terms of, all right, here we go, let's take this serious, I just think I see parents whiff all the time on thinking that that's their button to press.
So it looks, I've got a article I read here. It talks about, like, you really try to spend a lot of time with your clients outside of football. Like, talk about just the relationships you try to form with your clients. That it seems like you have a different relationship than a lot of the guys in your industry. Talk about just how you form that, how you really came up with that idea, as opposed to just being on the field with them and working on technique and things like that.
Yeah, every relationship is different. I mean, some of these guys, I met Sam Darnold when he was 14, and he's 27. He's on his 5th team. He just signed a $100 million deal. Technically he's a client, but really he's like a little brother. And so I believe, like, the logo for my company, QB Summit, is a mountain range. And what it symbolizes is the inevitability of two things that are going to strike you no matter what, in 3rd grade and in the AFC title game. And that is the inevitability of success and adversity. And so the little mountain range is that. It represents that. And how well you handle those two things, that's actually how good you are. It's not how far you can throw it. It's not how big you are. It's how well are you handling adversity and how well are you at handling success. And I know people who are great when their back's against the wall, but they have a problem with success. And I know people that are great when everything's going great and they don't have no idea how to deal with adversity. And so whatever we're doing physically, whatever we're doing mentally on the board and teaching and watching film, all that stuff comes second to these guys knowing early on in our relationship, 1, that they can trust me, 2, that very rarely do I hear something for the first time, and 3, that I'm just dead set on helping them handle those two things. And the physical element comes along with it. I've got a great partner named Mike, who's I think a savant when it comes to movement, biomechanics, and we got a great team here. But really, it's building that relationship. And so I have a golf simulator in my office. We call my office QBCC, QB Country Club. Might have a very cool podcast coming out this summer. And really, I have a lot of 8:30 p.m. tee times at QBCC, because after my kids go down, I can come back over to the office and we can just play golf on the simulator and talk. And I've had several profound, deep discussions in the last 5 weeks with NFL guys who are either at the top or the bottom of one of those peaks and valleys and are able to come alongside them. And I just think at the end of the day, that's what a coach should do, is help people through those two things. And foundationally, I've got 4 kids. I got 3 boys, 9, 6, and 2, and I got a little baby girl who's 8 months. And my 9-year-old he's a competitor. He's a little hunter. He's a predator. But he's trying to figure out what he wants to develop skills in, what he wants to work at. He's going to press the start button on that. But he's into it. He's into flag. He's into basketball. He's into jiu-jitsu. He skateboards. He surfs. And so going through that, I think my job as the coach, because I'm the coach on the team, is to help them get really good at the success and adversity part of it, and understand how they're going to navigate that. And when they're ready to develop more skills, having great drills and routines and tips and tricks to come alongside them on that.
I love that, because that's life, right? The peaks and the adversities. I'm curious. You said at the very beginning that you went to a college that you didn't want to go to, and you had a miserable first year, and your dad helped you, through that. We heard a similar story with Kirk Cousins at Michigan State, wanted to quit, wanted to be gone. How did you face that adversity yourself? How did you get through that? You've mentioned your faith. I'm sure that's probably part of your story, but tell us how you got through all that.
Man, I'd have to go back and really go through it. I really loved playing football. That was my only chance. If I left there, I was going to go to a JUCO and live at home. And, it didn't sound fun, and I just had a great time with my buddies, and tried to make the most of it. And that's why for me, I've just always gone back to, when you're in the NFL, and Jeff probably experienced this in baseball, winning solves everything, right? I've been on a 2-14 team, and I've been on a 14-2 team. It's different. The Wednesdays are different. The Thursdays are different, right? The meetings are different. And so winning can solve everything at the professional level. But for me, that wasn't the case. I think having fun solves everything, if you're just enjoying it. And what happened is my sophomore year, I got a new coach in Mike Price. And his whole philosophy was built around having fun. He's like, we're going to celebrate in the end zone, and we're going to get in the end zone a lot. So we're going to celebrate a lot. Like, it was just like very simple formula. And it just sounds so silly when I say it. I'm 40 and it's still true. Like, I love having fun. And not everything I do is fun, right? I got 4 kids. Not everything I do is fun, but I think that was the thing that for me, because we weren't winning. That's not what solved it for us at UTEP. We won 1 game that first year too. So I just think it was having fun. And for me, when football wasn't fun and school wasn't fun, my buddies were fun and golfing was fun and whatever else we were doing. And so I just think there's something to be said. If I could inject one thing into every youth sports team, particularly when you get to like middle school and high school, it would be fun. Make this more fun. Because I just think you're going to get the most out of it. And in my past life, I ran a business. I ran a digital marketing agency called Common Thread Collective. We had 120 employees in a 40,000 square foot building that we owned. Like, I've lived that life too. And we just never we never lost the good people because it was too fun and everybody got to get their work done. But, we were talking before we went on, Kalo, the silicone wedding ring company, I was a co-founder in that. And we had some really hard times and some tough meetings and some tough decisions to make, but we had a blast, and I could definitely do a better job with my kids right now of discipline and education. I could be doing more of this and more of that and more of that, but I don't know. We're just like over-indexed on fun right now, and I'm cool with it. And so I don't know. I think part of that is perspective. But I just think in a competitive environment, that as on the list of goals, that gets pushed pretty far down. And I just think it's a terrible strategy.
If you have middle school or high school kids that play sports and you don't want to fundraise like me, we got you covered. My buddy Chris Carneal owns Booster. Chris?
We help schools and sports teams raise funds in a super fun and engaging way. In fact, the last 22 years, we've raised $750 million, and we can't wait to help you. Choose booster.com.
I think a lot like you with fun, development. I got 11, 9, 6, and 4, coach all their teams and do this. But I am curious because it sounds like the way you were raised, how you think through adversity. Now you deal with some of these college kids, right? And I know you talked about how you have 20 clients or so. When you think about them, how tough are some of those conversations, especially with the transfer portals today of like, hey, this might be a good place for you, but you got to stick this out. You got to go earn your spot compared to, hey, just go off to the next place. Because like our kids are going to end up going through that at some point when it's like just, I'm coaching a Travis softball team. Just quit and go to another team. You'll play more. Well, that doesn't always translate. Then you're leading your friends. So like, how do you balance that talking with them?
Yeah, I want to keep it really simple. I think you should make every decision and look at it through the lens of development. When I say the lens, like, let's say we're all in a dark room right now meeting, right? And we're in here for a couple hours and we go walk outside and it's super sunny. And we're all just go like this. We're like, oh man, right? All I got to do is put a pair of sunglasses on. It's the only thing I have to do. And it totally changes my perspective. It's not even that bright anymore, right? And so I think that developmental phase, like I said, it starts when it starts and it ends at your second contract. That phase is really where I think you should measure every decision against what's best for your development. And if you want a definition of development, how good can you get and how fast can you get there? And being in a constant pursuit of that. And so I just think every decision should be made based off of that. And I help people with the decision of, do I transfer? Do I not? Do I leave college early? Do I not? I've had a couple, do I leave high school early? Do I not? I work with Juju Lewis, who didn't go to high school his senior year. JT Daniels didn't go to high school his senior year. Which school do I transfer to? This one has this much money and this personnel in the huddle, and this one has this coaching staff, and all of those myriad of decisions that you have to make as an athlete, whether it's going through a challenging time or it's going awesome. I just challenge people to look at it through the lens of development. And so I have people take inventory. Just take out a sheet of paper, write down, what is it that you're working on? When do you think you'll be better at it? Which of these two options is going to help you in that pursuit? You make the decision. So in all of my history of doing this, I've never told anybody ever what they should do or what I would do if I were them or what I think they ought to do. They have to make these decisions. And it's part of becoming a man. And so for me, I give them the questions they need to ask, they need to answer, and really like a format for how to go through that. And then encourage them to measure those against the two decisions that they're making, whether that's between this school and that school, or going back to school or going to the league. And even if you make the wrong decision, you have to make it. You're going to draw on that the next big decision you have. And I learned this. I went to Santa Margarita High School my freshman year to follow my brother, and in comes the younger Palmer brother, and here we go. And I had a ton of friends, and I had a girlfriend, and I had all this stuff. And then I got an opportunity to play at a public school my sophomore year, and this was back when nobody transferred. But the guy that we had been training with, Bob Johnson, who'd been out of coaching, took over a new school. And I thought it was going to be a better chance for me to go to college playing for this guy as opposed to throwing with this guy on the weekends. And so I transferred to a public school, Mission Viejo. I did not know anybody there. I ate lunch in the coach's office the first week. I was a kind of a rich kid from the private school transferring to a public school. So I wasn't well received. My wife is like literally the third person I met. Just shot my shot as a sophomore. And my business partner at Kalo and Common Thread Collective was my ex. Clark Hardman, who's my co-founder at Thread Performance, was my Z receiver. And most of my best friends, my business partners, and my wife all came from that decision. And so when I made that decision, there was a night when I went to my dad and I go, I don't know what to do. Just tell me what to do. And he said, no, under no circumstances am I going to tell you what to do. You have to make this decision on your own, even if it's the wrong one, because you got to learn from it. And boy, did that help at 16, me making a massive decision. Right. And so in all my experience of giving counsel to families, really, it's not just quarterbacks. The athlete has to make the decision. And so my sons are going to finish the season for what we play, but they're going to decide what they play next. And I'll create opportunities and exposure to them, but I just think it's too valuable. And so another miss that I see is micromanaging your kid's career. I don't see that as a good strategy either, no matter what your background is as a parent and how much you think you know, or how much you do know. I know a ton about football, and I will not be making those decisions for my sons. And I'll make the decision on when they get to play tackle, but I'm not going to make a lot of the decisions. There's a big camp this Saturday. My 9-year-old wants to go. My 6-year-old doesn't want to go. So I think my 6-year-old have a blast, and I'm going to take him there, but he doesn't have to go, and it's like, that's his choice.
Jordan, when you look at a client, how are you vetting out? I'm sure a lot of quarterbacks come to you wanting you to work with them. How do you vet out who you work with?
So at college and NFL level, I have guys come out for 2 to 3 days. And there's a fee for that, a small fee. So if we want to it doesn't work out and we're not going to do it, it's all good. Otherwise it rolls into an annual program. And I want to give them the squeaky ball test. I want to see how bad they want it. And there's different ways to do that, or they show up and I know that they want it. And then we give them a lot of different information, and we give it to them different ways to see what type of learner they are. Not how smart they are, what type of learner they are. So I've got clients, if I want to work on changing how they hitch on their drop, I've got clients who they just want to take really good notes. They want to understand it. And want to understand the body parts. I want to put force in the ground with my left foot, create leverage. That's what's going to unlock my hip. That's going to allow me to internally rotate my right hip to be able to put force back in the ground. Some people want to talk like that. Some guys want to see video of someone else doing it. Some guys need to have me right in front of them, showing them. And then I've had guys who just need to see themselves do it. So I'll throw an iPad on the side, project it onto the screen, and they're looking at themselves on the screen from the side. So I just need to see how they retain him, what type of learner they are. And then I try and figure out what they've been exposed to from an offense and defense perspective. Some guys get to college and they've never been taught this stuff. And that's fine. Doesn't mean it's over. Just it's going to change the way I approach it. And then I really want to at some point get into the soul of it. And I have some exercises that I go through with them where I have them take notes, and then I have some presentations that I give that is a presentation that they do the presentation. They need to answer these questions. So one of them is 5 core truths. I have guys take some time and write down 5 things that are just undeniably true about them. that nobody would disagree who knows them. And it's not football. It's not deep ball accuracy and run fast. It could be sincere. It could be kind. It could be sensitive. It could be loving. It could be courageous. And so really just helping guys take inventory, because athletes, there's always something next weekend, next month, tomorrow, this afternoon, after practice tonight, that not a lot of guys look backwards. And so I do a lot of helping people take inventory. And a really powerful one is me asking guys, why are you chasing this so bad? Why do you want to get so good at quarterback? And that's just like, seems like such a dumb question in the beginning. They're like, because I want to go to the league. Like, okay, why? Well, because like, I don't know. I've always wanted to go to the league and you can make a ton of money. Okay. So a ton of money. Okay. What do you want? Why do you want so much money? Right. And you start going. They've never been asked these questions before. And you get to the root of it and you go, oh my gosh, whatever it is. Like I've had guys go, oh my gosh, I'm really just trying to not let my parents down. Wow. I never realized that, or I'm really just trying to prove to myself that I can do it. You know what I mean? You get to the root of it. And so I go through a series of really kind of on their soul, figuring out who are they and why do they care about these things so much? Not that it's unhealthy, but if you care about this a lot, you should get to the root cause of why. And it just doesn't happen anywhere else. And so, and a lot of times the parent isn't the person who can ask those questions because they won't get the honesty. And so in a lot of cases, it's easier to talk to me about something that is a parent or a brother or a teammate or a coach. And so that's kind of how we vet it. And man, we got 5'10" guys. We got 6'4" guys. We got white guys, black guys, Polynesian guys. We got every time, lefties, righties, everything. So what happens is the common denominator ends up being great people and people who have the right kind of confidence. And as far as every other thing you'd measure in a quarterback, we're all across the board here.
Is mentality a big thing that separates the top ones for you, the mental part?
I think the biggest line of delineation is actually confidence. That's the kind of like the do not pass go. Like it's not going to work for you, right? You can be incredibly confident and terrible at football too, but confident of the I don't have any clients that are terrible at football. Confidence is definitely the thing. If you write down all the lists of the things you think this guy either was way above his potential or all-time great or whatever, and then you have a list of people you think didn't reach their potential or busts or whatever, there's the line. It's not the 6'4" guys are over here and the 6'2" guys are over there. It's not that, right? Everybody grew up differently, different backgrounds, different skill sets. But there's two types of confidence. I teach a lot. I spend a lot of time talking about confidence because I think it's the most important trait. There's reactionary confidence, and really simply, reactionary confidence is dependent on the environment that you're in. You're reacting to what's happening around you, and that is what is dictating your level of belief in yourself and what you're capable of. Self-generated confidence, these are just the terms I use for it, is independent of the environment. I mean, it doesn't really matter what anybody thinks or believes or says or what I hear or what I'm experiencing. It has no effect on what I believe I'm capable of doing. And I definitely know people that are just in one of those categories. But I spent a lot of time helping guys go from reactionary confidence to self-generated because I didn't realize until I met a friend that I lost a few years ago named Trevor Moad, who was the one who I brought in my fourth year in the NFL. And I switched my fourth year into having unwavering self-generated confidence as a player. And it was the first time, like we all can think back if we knew then what we know now, how good we would have been. Right. And I don't spend any time doing that. The only thing that I've done that on though, is not on mechanics or if I knew coverages like that. No, I do wonder what my career would have been like had I figured out how to have unwavering self-generated confidence when I was in high school. I do wonder that. And I actually think it would have been a difference of a couple $100 million because at the end of the day, the lines between the talent level and the ability, it's just like, it's pretty gray, and there's some just like average guys that physically just average, like pretty good, you know what I mean? Who have a ton of success. I put Kirk Cousins in that list. I'd sit right in front of him. He's a close friend of mine for a long time. Like he's pretty small guy, right, for what he does for a living. And the work ethic and all that stuff's off the charts, but it is with all of them, right? It for him mentally, not just the X's and O's and understanding the game, but handling everything that he's handled and how he does it, his disposition to Christ in his life, and how just set he is. Like, that's his superpower. It ain't his out route, even though he throws a fantastic one. And he's got a great arm. He's a great athlete, but there's a long list of those guys. And so I just think at the end of the day, it's that confidence that is the thing that separates them. I know guys that actually aren't super smart and don't actually process it that quickly, if we're being honest, that are absolutely dominating. So I don't think it is. I don't buy into the, like, it's 80% mental, it's 20%. I don't know how you measure any of that stuff anyways. I don't think about it like that. But if you have a confidence issue, then you have a football issue.
Man, this is fascinating stuff, Jordan. I wish we could talk all day about it. I want to segue, though, because you're talking all about, you spend a lot of time developing folks and their performance. And I want to segue to talking about thread performance. Because you've developed something that you think is really key for athletes, and so that I think our audience is going to be really interested in. So tell us a little bit about Thread.
Yeah, Thread Performance is a nutrition company that my high school teammate and I, and one of my best friends growing up, we created. And the interesting thing is we're both entrepreneurs. I've been a part of building and selling 2 different companies outside of the quarterback world, and Clark is his name. He has as well too, but we did not set out to start a company. I was merely getting a lot of questions from parents. I get a lot of the same questions. I'm a consultant, right? Why is my kid elbow hurt? The coach doesn't know what he's talking about. What do we do about playing time? Right? A lot of the same questions. And one of them was, what should I feed my kid? And when it comes to your elbow hurting or learning, how do they learn the game better? I've got great answers. I just didn't have great answers on the nutrition. I'm a former athlete, so I know what my body needs, but I just didn't know a ton about puberty. My oldest kid's 9, so I haven't gone through that as a parent yet. And so I reached out to some friends who, they own Ancient Nutrition and they owned Garden of Life before that. And they're really the experts in the space, the thought leaders in the space. And I reached out to them to better understand what I should tell these parents. And very quickly, I was blown away with how little I knew about puberty, how little I knew about what's happening in their bodies, what types of things their bodies need. And I just got to a point where I realized that if I didn't know this, as a quarterback coach, former professional athlete, younger brother professional, all the things that I've been exposed to, then I don't know who knows this. And I was just sharing it with my buddy Clark, and he kind of called me the next day and was like, I stayed up all night. There's not a single company that makes this product. I'm like, wow. And so it really, we entered into it, not from a business perspective of which market should we launch in. We entered into it of, this needs to exist. And I used to run an e-commerce agency, and we worked with early stage companies. And so I was business development. So I've seen a million companies come and go. We talked about before the line of delineation between great athletes and all that, and its confidence. I think in startup world, it's companies that are started for the right reason. There's my line on that one. And so the impetus for starting Thread Performance was that it needed to exist. Now, what that's turned into is best-in-class formulations, completely clean. I live a very holistic lifestyle. We eat very clean. My kids are the ones that other people point at in restaurants because I'll have a 2-year-old just hammering broccoli and asparagus. And my 9-year-old will look at the back of a bottle and go, this has yellow 5. And just like, that's the house that we're in. And so I like to say I'm married to the healthiest person on the planet. But with Thread Performance, it needed to exist. And so right now we have 3 products. So Daily Fuel, through all of our products need to be 2 things. They need to be clean and healthy. And then the second thing is they need to be easy. All right. I got 4 kids. I get it. I'm not going to be measuring scoops, and it's a lot. And cooking full meals is a lot. And so Daily Fuel is a packet. It's powder, and you mix this with water or milk or whatever, or a smoothie. And it's really, as a mom or a dad, if your kid consumes that, you did your job for the day. So it's a dual chassis. There's two main elements to it. One is grass-fed whey protein, and the other one is collagen. But very specifically, for anybody who's into nutrition, it's collagen 1, 5, and 10, and it's from fermented eggshell membrane. So this is very specifically designed because that affects ligament strength, tendon integrity, fascia repair, all the things that are happening during puberty. And there's also superfoods, there's vitamins, there's a mushroom blend in there that helps with stress and anxiety and focus, daily greens, daily vitamins, and everything that's in there is in chocolate or vanilla. It tastes great, but as a parent, single use, one packet, dump, mix, check the box for the day. And then daily fuel and daily edge. Daily edge is energy, but it's not energy like we consume energy. It's muscle oxygenation. So it's sustained energy throughout the course of the day through oxygenating your muscles, with mushroom blend as well to help with focus and to help with recovery. And then on daily strength, it's a completely botanical. And honestly, we partnered with this company, Rip Factor. And when we were first doing the deal, I just kind of called BS on the results. I was like, there's no way. And it's not a weight gainer, it's a strength gainer. And it was like, I'm getting quoted on this because I'm putting this on the internet, but like, it was like 2.5x results, like in strength gains in your lower body, like 2.6x in your upper body, something like that. And it was like, I'd never seen a product like this. And I believe it because it was clinically studied. And two, I really believe it now based off all the emails we're getting from parents. And whether that's their kids getting stronger or their kid had some issues and is now getting as strong as they should be for their age for whatever was setting them back. And so we launched with 3 products. We're formulating more right now. To be honest with you, it's off to an incredible start. I think we have 1,500 subscribers right now. And we kind of like I think we did like 6 or 8 times what we set out to do when we raised money in the first place. I mean, it's been a rocket ship, to be honest with you. And it's been really well received. And honestly, the thing that we're most excited about is these emails that we're getting from these moms and dads about the things that they're noticing in their kids. And it just really is a testament to, we were right. Something like this needed to exist. Not we were right because we built the company. We were right that something like this needed to exist. And so our product development, what's coming out next, all of that is going to be off the same thesis. It's what needs to exist. And we're formulating hydration stick packs right now because there's a lot of hydration stick packs on the market, but we found some ingredients that should be in there for young athletes. And we're doing some tests on some other things that are really exciting right now too, because that needs to exist. And so I think we're a company that's growing and evolving, but we exist because we think it needed to exist, and less about it from the typical perspective of a capitalist.
Well, that's super exciting for us. You know, we're in the midst of launching our PA Plus platform to help kids develop in a healthy way. And, you know, our 2 companies, we might as well say right now, we've been talking on the side about this, and we want to be sharing more about this product, on our site, because we think it makes a lot of difference. It's going to make a lot of difference for kids. I can tell you as a dad of kids who, are done, but they played D1 tennis, and we were always looking for stuff that would be helpful with hydration and helpful with recovery and just maximizing performance. So I wish you had brought this along about 8 years ago, but I'm glad you have it now, and we can't wait to share more about it on PA Plus.
Well, we wish it had it too. My parents are incredible, but we definitely ate Eggos with Aunt Jemima and Jif and Vandekamp's fish sticks in my house. You know what I mean? And Clark, he was my high school receiver, but he was a 2nd-round pick by the Cubs and was, College World Series champion at Cal State Fullerton, and he was a professional athlete. And apparently he led all of Southern California in soda consumption, according to his childhood story. So we wished we had it too. And like I said, it needed to exist in 1992 when we were chasing it, but the fact that it wasn't existing in 2024 when we launched is why. Look, Clark had a great career going, doing something different, and so did I. So yes, we run the company. We think it's going to be a hit, but also it needed to exist. And I think that's the cool thing. The emails we're getting right now, unsolicited from parents, and the intrigue. One thing that's been happening of late, a lot of DMs and a lot of random text messages where they got my number from somebody of some very, very high profile athletes who are reaching out about getting some for their kids. That's the thing that's been really the last 2 months been happening. I keep screenshotting these things like, man, this person reached out. Man, this person reached out. No, that way, that's crazy. And they ain't doing it because they can't afford it. You know what I mean? But the interest and the intrigue from very, very high profile world-class athletes who are parents is really just kind of adding fuel to the fire right now for us to run a good, efficient company and deliver great products, but also it's fueling a lot of our product development and ideation right now as well.
Jordan, to finish up, how can parents find us? What's the easiest way for them to find it?
Yeah, so everything is direct to consumer right now. We're not at retail and honestly not going to be for a few years. So it's threadperformance.com. We have a performance bundle, so you can get all 3 products. You can order them individually as well. But getting on a subscription plan, there's price breaks for that. And then Thread Performance is our handle on different social media platforms. And we put out a lot of content that's honestly has nothing to do with the individual products that we're selling. Just good information, sleep, hydration, all sorts of stuff. We want to be a resource. We want to be, look, from a business perspective, we know that this is really going to scale when there's a mom at soccer practice talking to another mom recommending this product away from the internet, not online, not, getting advertised to. The power of peer review is obvious. And so one of the things we're trying to do is just help educate people on, I am not a formulator. I am not an expert at nutrition. I'm just a parent who's kind of in this too, who knows a little bit more than the average bear, but then went and sought it. And I'm constantly in a state of learning as well, do's and don'ts with my kids. And so I'm kind of, Clark and I kind of are the consumer. He's got a daughter who's a stud soccer player and a little guy who's trying to play quarterback too. You know what I mean? So we kind of are our consumer. And so we're trying to be able to provide not just great products, but great information too.
Man, well, we can't thank you enough for joining us today, man. I know, shoot, I'm going to be on it because my 4 kids, man, we're playing every Saturday, Sundays, and same kind of thing. So I'll tell you what, man, we appreciate you spending time with us. You were so kind. We had to reschedule a couple of times, and you were always willing. So we thank you so much, man, and wish you the best of luck and look forward to hopefully doing some things together, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. And to be honest with you, I've directed a ton of parents. I sent out a whole mass email, everybody talking to everybody about Pure Athlete. I think you guys need to exist too. And just, it's just easy as a parent, I think, because we were a kid, so we have our own experiences, and then we have friends who have kids and we have those experiences, then we consume some stuff here and there. It's easy to just think we got it figured out while also simultaneously feeling like we don't have it figured out. And so I just think you guys are creating an incredible resource as well to have that perspective. And I think it's so easy to evaluate other parents. This person's doing a good job, this person's doing a bad job. The part of what the value in my career is, I know a lot of quarterbacks, I know a lot of dads. And so I've seen a lot of different ways that I will not do it. And I've seen a lot of different ways that I'm going to steal that. I like that. But when I talk about my parents now, the way that I look at it is a little more global. My parents are 80, and I would score my parents not off of 2 NFL quarterback sons, not even off of 11 grandkids. I'd score my parents off of they raised 4 great parents. That's the thing. If I just got to write one blurb on my parents, they get one accolade, it's they raised 4 stud parents who love being parents and are great at it. And so we can judge ourselves and our other people around us off little things here or there. Your kid has a 4.0 in 6th grade. Congratulations. But I think you really zoom out here. I want to raise 4 great parents. And so anybody who else is kind of along on that journey and supporting people in that, I'm excited to continue to do more stuff with you guys.
Thanks, Jordan.